Now after the client and server have transferred the data, finally the connections have to be closed, right, or terminated. Now let's see how the connections will be closed after the client and server are done with the data transfer. So if you observe it, if you have a client and if you have a server, so generally client is going to say that I'm done by sending the FIN packet, and then server is supposed to send the acknowledgement acknowledging this one, right? So what happens is, as you know, TCP is a full duplex connection, so you can assume that the data is going both the ways, right? So whenever this thing happens, then from client to server, this connection is going to be closed. Again one other connection is open, so which means server has to send the FIN and you have to get the acknowledgement, which means one way you have closed and the other way also has to be closed. And now there are various possibilities, so you have to deal with all the possibilities where sometimes these two will be sent together by the server, right? Or sometimes both of them might issue a FIN together, which means like this. So both the sides might send the FIN at the same time, so FIN and FIN. Got it? So you have to handle all those cases. Now keeping all these cases in mind, let's see what are the states that both the client as well as the server enters while closing the connection. So again in this diagram also, wherever the bold line is there, so bold line is actually representing the client and the dashed line is representing the server and the dotted line is representing the uneven events. I mean unusual events. So there's a chance that they might happen, but then they are not very common. Now let us say both the client and server are initially in the established state. Now who will generally start with the closing the connection is the client. So whenever the client chooses or wants to close, it is going to call the close system call, as a result of which a FIN packet will be sent, right, which means a packet with a segment with the control flag FIN is set is going to be sent. Okay, so after sending the FIN, so you can assume it, this one has happened, so you have sent the FIN. Okay, after sending the FIN, it is going to go to the FIN wait one. So why is it waiting for? It is waiting for the acknowledgement from the server side, right? Now in case if server sends the acknowledgement for your FIN, so for this particular FIN, if the server sends the acknowledgement, which means this acknowledgement is received. Got it? So in case if you receive the acknowledgement, then you are going to go and wait in the next stage, which is called as FIN wait 2. Got it? And after this, we are supposed to receive a FIN from the server side. See, from your side you have sent it and you got the acknowledgement. Now you have to wait for the acknowledgement from the FIN from the server side. That is why in FIN wait 1 stage we are waiting for the acknowledgement, and in FIN wait 2 state we are waiting for the FIN from where? From the server. So once we get the FIN from the server, then the client will acknowledge, which means send the acknowledgement, and it will go and wait in the timed wait state. So what has happened? So from the other side, client has received the FIN and it has acknowledged. Now after doing this, client is not going to deallocate all the buffers, it will wait for some time. So that is where it is going to be in the time wait state. So before closing the connection completely, it will wait for some time by using a timeout mechanism, right? Generally it will wait for the maximum lifetime of a segment. So why will it wait is, in case if some of the packets which are supposed to be received in this connection, they got delayed because of some reason, then it will wait for some time to receive them, right? Let us say one example is, just before sending the FIN, the server has sent a packet, but due to some reason that data packet got delayed and we got the FIN first. Now after receiving the FIN, the client should not close the connection immediately, because later it might see the data. So that is why it will be careful and it will wait for some time before closing the connection completely. So finally, after waiting that amount of time, connection will be closed completely. So that is what is going to happen on the client side. Now coming to the server side, what happens is, initially whenever client has sent this particular fin packet, then that is when the server is going to respond, and it is going to send an acknowledgement saying that yes, I have received your fin packet, and it will send an acknowledgement. At this point in time, it will go and wait in a state called as close wait state. Got it? And in this close wait state, again second thing is it is supposed to send the fin packet, right? So that is how it will call the close system call, which will send the fin packet to the client. So which means this one will be sent. So that is where it is going to go into the state called as lost acknowledgement. Got it? Which means it is just waiting for the lost acknowledgement to come from the client side. Now whenever the client has sent the lost acknowledgement, this one, whenever the server has received the acknowledgement, right, it is going to go to the closed state. So this entire thing is called as active closing block, and this entire block is called as passive closing, right? So active closing means on behalf or from the client side, the closing is initiated, that is called as active closing, right? So passive closing means it is reacting to what the client has done, isn't it? So this is called as active closing, and that is called as passive closing. Fine. And one more thing you can understand here is these dotted lines. So if you see these dotted lines, these are unusual activities. So which means let's see what happens here. So the client has sent the fin packet. As a response, it got the fin packet. Now what is the meaning of it? Both the client and server are actually trying to close the connection simultaneously, right? In that case, what will our client do is it will just send the acknowledgement, and it will go to a state called as closing, and it will wait for the acknowledgement for the fin it has set. So how to visualize this one is, you can think of it this way. Client has sent the fin, initiated the fin, but server has also set the fin, right? Now what will client do? Client will send the acknowledgement, and it will wait for this acknowledgement. So that is what is happening in this close. So it will wait for this acknowledgement, and once it receives the acknowledgement from this side, so anyway both the phases are over, right? So closing from this side and closing from that side is over. That is why we are directly getting into the time wait stage, right? And the other case is, client has sent the fin, and the server has sent both the acknowledgement and fin in the same packet, right? And as a result, client is sending the acknowledgement. Now what is this case? This case is where client has sent the fin, let's say this is the client and the server, and the server is going to send you fin plus acknowledgement, right? So this is what has happened. Now only acknowledgement is remaining from the client side. So acknowledgement is being given by the client side. So anyway, you are going to go here. So now if you observe this dotted line is nothing but union of these two, or union of these two, isn't it? This dotted line is nothing but union of these two. So acknowledgement plus fin happening together, and as a result, the action is sending acknowledgement, or union of these two moves is this, which means fin plus acknowledgement both are happening together, and as a result we are sending acknowledgement. Got it?